Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Tiffany and today I'm doing something a little bit different. I'm introducing an episode that I recorded for a podcast that I have called Things Magick. So this podcast is like a baby podcast. It's brand new, but I decided to go ahead and take the audio from this episode and put it into my YouTube channel in case anyone here is interested. So this video is audio only. Basically what I'm talking about in this video is my woo journey. Anyone who's been following me for a while and is curious about my perspective, my approach, what's gotten me here, what do I believe, what do I not believe. So if you're curious about that, go ahead and continue to listen. And before I get to the episode, I just want to say, please look at the description below and check out my links to my podcast, to my website, to my free library. I have lots of free resources and free information. So if that's something you're interested in, please check it out. Hello, and welcome to the All Things Magick podcast. This is Tiffany. And so today I was going to share with you my woo journey. And I'm calling it my woo journey because this podcast is called All Things Magick, and I thought it might be good to give you a baseline or a little summary of my experience with woo and why I have landed where I have. I am almost 50 years old at the time of this recording, and so I've tried a lot of things and have had a lot of experiences that have really kind of informed where I'm at in life when it comes to philosophy, religion, and belief. Before I get into what I want to share about my personal experience, I want to just do a little disclaimer that I did have a traumatic experience in fundamentalist Christian church, and so I am going to share my story around that. And also just want to be really clear that I understand that Christianity can be a safe space and provide a supportive network and can be a philosophy that really resonates with a lot of people. But I am going to share how my experience really shaped me, really caused me to run away from that type of structure. So before I get into that experience, though, I just want to share that I tend to be very leery of dogma. Anything that gets super dogmatic or where there's a lot of rules, any belief system, I don't care which one it is, it makes me very uncomfortable. And that includes human design. As you may already know, if you've discovered me, I am a human design reader, and I really am not dogmatic about human design. I tell everybody I do a reading with that this is just a tool to help us understand ourselves. It's not black and white. It's not meant to put you into a box. And we're not here to be dogmatic about it, right? And I think that dogma can, for me personally, feels very uncomfortable. It feels very restrictive. And so I wanted to explain why or how it is that I've come to this place where I just can't even do dogma at all. So when people ask me, what do you believe? I usually always say I have Tiffany belief, because I might believe something in that moment, but I also know that I might shift my thinking about that thing. I might believe in human design right now because the readings that I'm doing and in trying to live my own design is really this fascinating thing that is showing me that, geez, there's something here. But I might change my mind about it 5 years from now, and I might be into something else. And so I need space to evolve spiritually. And I think the biggest reason I need space to evolve spiritually, this is my own personal experience, is because I was raised in a very strict, fundamental Baptist home when I was young. So it was one of those situations where we were forced to go to church Sunday night, Sunday morning, Wednesday night, and then we had Awanas on Tuesdays and Thursdays, which is kind of like the church version of Girl Scouts. And I was just really, really put into this fundamentalist belief. I was a big part of my growing up. And the thing is, though, I do remember, I have a memory of being 5 or 6 years old, sitting in the pew at church. I had just learned how to tie my shoes, so I was practicing. And I remember being really annoyed by the preacher. He was up there yelling and screaming about his sermon. You know how the preachers do that, and they get the booming voice, and then they talk softly, and then they do the booming voice, and then you like jerk out of your seat. And I remember just like being so annoyed and feeling like so out of place, and like this doesn't fit me, like this doesn't feel right to me, and I didn't have words to articulate it at that time. So in fundamentalist Christian churches, for people who don't know, and at least how I was raised, the rapture is a big deal. The end of times is a big deal. Jesus coming back is a big deal, and everybody disappears, and there's like chaos on earth and all this stuff. And that's the book of Revelation stuff. And so when I was a kid, put in these rooms in this basement of this church, where we were told to watch, or we were put in a situation where we needed to watch these videos about the end of times, and it was very graphic. The video was very violent, and it depicted people being crucified. It depicted people being tortured by having bamboo put up their fingernails, bamboo shards pushed up their fingernails, people in agony for various reasons, and it was just a really horrible, horrible video. And I saw more than one. And because of that experience, I would say because of that traumatic experience, I started to have this reoccurring dream that I was on my bike. I was trying to get over a bridge. The sky was blood red, and I'm biking as hard as I can to get over to the other side of this bridge to get to the quote unquote safe side. And there were people on the side of the road that were reaching out and trying to grab me off the road, and there was just chaos and anarchy everywhere. And so I would have this reoccurring dream throughout my childhood into early adulthood. And so at a certain point, I started breaking away from the church. When I was 18, I had some experiences in college that really shifted my thinking. I started learning about other religions, and then I started really exploring. And at one point, I remember being in my apartment in college, and I had just woken up, and I'd had that dream. I was probably like 21. And I'd had that reoccurring dream, and I was pissed. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, why am I still having this stupid dream? And it was in that moment, and I'm not joking when I tell you this, I'm like, I'm done. I'm done with this. I don't believe this, and I'm killing God in my head. Like, that's what I said to myself, is I'm killing God in my head. It doesn't exist. I'm done with this. And I will tell you that I have never had that dream since. So that reoccurring dream I had all throughout my childhood, and in that one moment, I'm like, I'm done, and I have never had that dream since. And I'm so grateful for that. And then I had the freedom at that point to really just start exploring whatever I wanted to explore. I explored Wiccan. I found that was a little too dogmatic for me. There was like too many rules. Same with witchcraft, although I really appreciate those beliefs. I explored Buddhism. I did a lot of reading of Joseph Campbell, and I read a lot of Friedrich Nietzsche, and I did a lot of philosophy. I read a lot of psychology, Carl Jung, things like that. And I just started really exploring things. I even read the Satanic Bible at one point, and not because I was interested in being a Satanist, but because I was interested in like, well, what do these people believe? And believe it or not, my biggest takeaway from reading that book, the biggest holiday for a Satanist is their birthday. They don't acknowledge Christmas, they don't acknowledge Easter or any of those other holidays, but their birthday is like the main event of the year. I always thought that was kind of funny. But anyway, I digress. So then I discovered something called chaos magic. And chaos magic at that time felt freeing to me because it didn't have any rules, or at least they tell you it doesn't have any rules. And the foundation of chaos magic is essentially, these are my words. You may find people say different things out there, but basically it is you decide. It's basically do what you will, and there are no rules. So for example, with chaos magic, if you want to worship Mickey Mouse and you decide Mickey Mouse is going to be my God for Tuesday, and I'm going to worship Mickey Mouse that day. I'm going to pray to Mickey Mouse. I'm going to create a sigil for Mickey Mouse, and I'm going to do something for Mickey Mouse, he is your god for that day. And in theory, as a chaos magician, you can make shit happen just with Mickey Mouse. And the next day you could do it with Donald Duck if you wanted to. And so there were no rules, there were no boundaries, right? And so I explored that for a little while. And then I eventually came away from all of that stuff to where I just kind of landed in this place where I would call myself more spiritual but not religious. And then after I explored the more, I guess, structured belief systems, I started shifting into more interest in tarot cards, interested in energy work, interested in seeing energy, interest in manifestation. So anybody who's gone down that rabbit hole of manifestation, one of the big, I think the big underpinnings of manifestation is getting right with yourself, doing shadow work, doing inner child work. So I would say over the last 7 years or so, I have really just been working on my inner child, working on how I'm blocking myself from having what I want in my life, really leaning into my design since I discovered my human design. And I am really playing with energy in that way and kind of noticing, when do I manifest things more easily? When do I feel like I'm blocked? Am I really honoring my desire? Am I doing things that are in alignment with my life? And I would say that has encompassed my last 7 years of really focusing more on, are things truly in alignment for me? Are my relationships healthy? A lot of self-reflection, a lot of deep inner work. And that's really kind of where I've landed with my spirituality. So in summary, I would say that I'm really not a big fan of being dogmatic, of drawing the line in the sand, of boxing people in, boxing myself in. I'm a fan of experimenting and playing with energy and playing with things and understanding things for the purpose of being more in alignment and helping other people be more in alignment. I will always be very all over the place when it comes to my interests in magic, when it comes to my interests in spirituality and those topics, and I will always play in that space. Like, for example, one area that I can really see myself getting into eventually is ancestral magic. I'm very fascinated by what energies do we carry with us through our ancestral DNA, and if we are able to tap into, this is just a curious question, I don't know the answer, but if we're able to really tap into the energies of where we actually came from. So in my case, that's Romania. Ultimately, that's where I know my family is from on my dad's side. What practices or what beliefs or what deities did those ancient people there worship or practice, and how can I learn something from that? Is there some power in all of that? So I just have all these curious questions in life, and I think I'm the definition of somebody who's here to explore things. I'm definitely not the person who is here and meant to be rooted or grounded in just one tradition.